Hi, I'm Brickroad. Welcome to Let's Play Parasite Eve 2. This is the first Patreon-sponsored Let's Play that I'm going to be putting on the channel. This one was selected by my boy Treble and his adorable niece. I'm not sure why, because this game is absolutely not suitable for children. There is violence, there are sexual themes, lots of blood and gore. Probably the creepiest looking monsters I think I've personally seen in a PlayStation 1 game. Just saying, Treble, if I were you and I was selecting a game to watch with my young niece, I would have picked like Kirby's Epic Yarn or something colorful and fun. So I actually downloaded a save off GameFAQs. This is going to be more of like an exhibition playthrough than actually a real Parasite Eve 2 playthrough. This game is on PSN if you want to experience it for yourself. It's like 10 or 15 bucks or something. The reason I'm doing an exhibition playthrough is, number one, this game is very old and very frustrating to play because of its control style, and normal mode is a little too hard for me. I cleared it on normal mode. It took too long. I was like, you know, I can't let's play that. But after you beat a normal mode, you get this replay mode, which means you can like roll over your bips and buy stuff and whatever. But then I'm like, you know what, that's better than normal mode, but there's so many cool items and things you unlock if you beat the game on Nightmare mode. But I can't beat the game on Nightmare mode, so I didn't even try. Look at this. You start off sick and things get worse. Why would you? Why? Okay, no. So I downloaded some dude's save and he has everything unlocked. So we're going to do a replay mode run with really cool weapons and armor and just blitz the game. We'll have some fun with it. Let's get in there. Replay mode. That's what FBI agents dress like. Not sure if you've ever watched The X-Files. That's what everybody in The X-Files was dressed like. The game takes place about 3 years after Parasite Eve. If you haven't watched my Parasite Eve Let's Play, it's pretty good. You should go check it out, maybe. At least the first half, when I'm not just running around the Chrysler building for hours and hours and hours. But the idea is that Aya is now like an awesome monster hunter. That's like her job now. She joined a new branch of the FBI called MISTS, which stands for something, I'm sure, mitochondrial something, who knows? They'll probably tell us here in the dialogue in a minute or two. But mitochondrial monsters are like swarmed out of Manhattan and started overtaking the U.S. or whatever. So Aya moved to Los Angeles, joined MISTS, and now fights monsters wearing tighter jeans than she wore in the first game. That's the haps. All the target practice that we're seeing here in the opening scene are monsters from Parasite Eve, which I think is a nice little touch. It does mean that the supporting cast from Parasite Eve, especially Daniel and Maida, are not in this game, which is too bad, because Daniel and Maida are both just great. I just love them to death. No, you know, she had it coming. I'm sorry. That outfit, those colors clash. She looked like a creamsicle. She needed to be put down. This is much more... If you get used to this game, if you get used to the controls and you get used to the archaic style of the game, it is much more fun to blitz this game than it is to blitz Parasite Eve 1, because you can skip all the dialogue, you can skip all the cutscenes and just go through the gameplay, and then every time you beat the game, you unlock new stuff. If you've played a lot of Metal Gear Solid 1, that's basically how the game works. Every time you play the game, you unlock more cool stuff. Then you play the game wearing a tuxedo or whatever. But in this game, it's mostly weapons. And the way it preserves those weapons is... I need to go to the options screen. I need to turn my run on. Okay. This game has currency. You see I've got bips over there. I've got my experience at like 3,200. Then I've got like 65,000 bips. That's how many bips the guy had on the save that I downloaded. Thank you, guy, whoever you are, who uploaded this PS3 compatible save file in 2012. God bless you, sir. So when you play a replay mode, you can take all the bips you earned previously and spend them on any weapons you've unlocked. This save has all the weapons unlocked. I'm only going to be buying 2 of them because I think that's pretty much all I need. So why is this game hard to play? Because tank controls. If you don't know what tank controls are, it means you did not play any of these action games back in the mid-late 90s. Actually, this game came out in like 2000, I think, for PlayStation 1. So back in those days, back in the mid-late 90s, before the launch of the PS2, the GameCube, and the original Xbox, you had a choice. If you're going to make a 3D world, there's one of two ways you can go. You can go with a pre-rendered backgrounds like this, which could be highly detailed. You can have all kinds of stuff, like you can actually see the newsprint on the walls. These are not polygons with texturing or anything like that, because you couldn't do really detailed texturing. The difference between this or like a Nintendo 64 game of that era, which had a fully 3D world with a movable camera, but had really low-res textures and things, looked very cartoony. So if you wanted to do a more realistic-looking game, you had to do these pre-rendered backgrounds, which Parasite Eve 1 also did. So you can see the transition between these two scenes here, going back and forth, how it kind of takes a second. The problem is, if Aya is walking down off this screen, when you go through the transition, now she's walking up. So the thought was, if we have just absolute D-pad control, if you hold down to walk, the person will just walk back and forth over the transition because they're holding down. So we don't have absolute D-pad control. What we have is tank controls, where if you push up, Aya walks forward, no matter what direction she's facing. And if you push left and right, she spins around. And if you push down, she moves backwards. That's the control scheme. Other famous games that use this control scheme, every Tomb Raider game on the PlayStation 1, the first couple Resident Evil games used it. It's not a bad control scheme if you get used to it, but it's the kind of thing that you really have to get used to, and I'm sorry, I played Resident Evil back in the day. I played this game a couple times back in the day. I played Tomb Raider a little bit back in the day, but after 20 years of having two control sticks at my disposal, it's just, I can't anymore. I'm sorry. After games, even contemporaries of Parasite Eve 2, even games that came out only a year or two later, things like, well, what was I playing? Final Fantasy X had full control stick movement because they had a full 3D environment. They didn't have to do tank controls in that. The first Kingdom Hearts didn't need it anymore. I forget what Resident Evil was the first one to come out on PS2. I think it was Resident Evil 3, but I'm not sure. Somebody would have to double check that for me. Eternal Darkness on the GameCube. Games like this, they had fully 3D worlds, and the control stick just worked. So this control style got retired. You don't see tank controls anymore in games. You just don't, because there's no need for them. We don't need to use these pre-rendered backgrounds anymore. The other way to do it would have been to use a camera style like Parasite Eve 1, where the camera was really, really high up and showed you almost a bird's eye view of the area. All three of the PS1 Final Fantasy games did this. The first Parasite Eve did this. A lot of games did. So you could have the absolute D-pad because you had a giant pre-rendered background that you were panning around, rather than these tiny little claustrophobic hallways with a lot of screen transitions. So there really was not a happy medium. You had to go one way or the other. But this style, the tank controls with all the transitions, with the static scenes, got retired because technology caught up, and it's not like old school pixel graphics and things where they're still charming to see and look at. It's just a bad control scheme that we've now, as a people, moved beyond. So here's all the stuff that's been unlocked. All this crazy stuff. The weapon I'm going to be using primarily through the game is the Gunblade, because that is hilarious to me. You can buy the Final Fantasy VIII Gunblade in this game and use it to like one-shot bosses and such if you're lucky. I'm going to buy this rifle. The M4A1 is a highly customizable rifle. Pretty good stopping power. Has some good stuff to it. Just in case I need the bullets. Just in case I get into a situation. The Gunblade fires shotgun shells. Just in case I run out of shotgun shells, I want something that fires bullets. I'm also going to buy the M203, which is the grenade launcher attachment for my rifle. So with these two weapons, I've got my melee attack on the Gunblade. I've got the shotgun shells. I've got the rifle to put out some bullets if I need to, and I got my grenades. So let's go ahead and equip that stuff. Equip the Gunblade. Oh, I don't have ammo for it yet. I probably should have bought ammo first. You know what? Yeah, we got to do some more shopping. You typically don't start the game with all these BPs. BP stands for bounty points. It's currency in the game. I really don't like Parasite Eve having currency. The original Parasite Eve didn't have it, and it worked just fine. I don't know why the new Parasite Eve 2 needed it. There's some other things about this game I don't like that I'll talk about pretty quick. Let's go ahead and stock up on ammo. Let's go ahead and get... Since we have all the money we could ever need, we'll just buy as much ammo as we can hold for all the guns we have. Buy some airburst grenades. Those are fun. And then we'll be able to stock up on this stuff in the shops as we go. We're going to buy this really expensive tactical armor. Because that gives us a HP display for our opponents. Big HP and MP boost. You don't gain levels in this game like you did in Parasite Eve. Your HP and MP don't go up. You need to get the bonuses off your armor if you want to improve your HP and MP. Also, attachments. You have to attach things to your armor to be able to use them in battle. So we want that. There's also this monk robe, which is kind of cool if you want to use PE powers a lot, because you essentially have infinite MP. It regenerates really quickly. You get a lot more MP back after battles, and you get the plus 100 bonus, which is insane, and 10 attachments. You can attach everything to this robe. But I really like being able to see my enemy's HP, so we're going to go with that. We're going to skip the belt pouch. That's the armor we're going to want. Items! A lot of this stuff is you have to unlock by completing the game in a certain way. These are all the Parasite powers in the game. This, with experience points, I can unlock these. There are 4 elements. There's fire, wind, water, and earth. And there's 3 Parasite powers per element and 3 levels per Parasite power. I don't like that they're called fire, wind, water, earth. This is Parasite Eve. It's not Captain Planet. They should have gone with sci-fi sounding names. Like, Pyrokinesis is a good sci-fi sounding name. But no, they're called fire in the menus. Every time you open the menu, you have these really like fantasy-sounding Tolkien D&D kind of. I don't like it. So what are we gonna buy here? We need to buy hunter goggles to make sure that we can't get blinded. Blindness is extremely annoying. And then there's these 4 special items that unlock if you do certain things in the game. The medicine wheel is really important. That one lets you, when you kill monsters and you have this equipped to your armor, rare items will drop more often, but it's a little too expensive. We can't afford it. We don't need it anyway because all the items we could ever want are in this shop. We are going to buy the Skull Crystal and the Holy Water and the Ofuda. These 3 items, one of them increases attack, one of them increases defense, and one of them increases both attack and defense. So those are going to be very important. So we're going to be really, really powerful when we go into the game here. Alright, let's go ahead and equip all our stuff. Okay, so we loaded up the R-Slug. We're going to put on our tactical armor. So our HP went up and everything. We don't get an actual heal though. Max HP went up, but we're still at 110 HP. We can fix that in a minute. So we're going to, now we got to pick all the stuff we're going to attach to our tactical armor. The most important thing, oh no, we're going to attach our grenade launcher first. There we go. So the most important thing to put on the armor is our alternate weapons. We want to put our rifle. We want to have our rifle ammo on there. We want to have our shotgun ammo on there. We want to have our grenades on there. So we've already taken up 4 of our 8 slots. Healing items. If you want to use healing items during battle, you got to attach them to your armor. And throughout most of the game, you'll only have like 4 or 5 slots on your armor. So very important to understand. If you're going to play this game based on my Let's Play, you're not going to have access to all this stuff. Unless you play it a couple times through and you like the replay. So now we're going to equip all our special items. Make sure we can't be blinded. That's very important. We're going to put on the Skull Crystal. We will put on the Holy Water. And we'll put on the Ofuda. If you're playing the game for the first time, chances are you're going to be getting a lot of use out of the M93R and these 9mm rounds, which are functionally infinite. It's the only ammo in the game that you have an infinite amount of. We've also got the GPS, which has a motion detector. That's crucial in battle to see enemy positions, but our tactical armor comes with that functionality built in, so we don't need that. Last thing we're going to do here is Parasite Energy. We start with 3200 XP. We're going to go ahead and unlock some Parasite Energy. We'll go ahead and unlock Healing. That'll be important. We'll go ahead and get Energy Shot, because why not? We'll get Metabolism, so we can heal our status ailments, and then that's basically the only ones we're going to need. We're not going to use most of the other ones, but we'll unlock them anyway, because just so we have the full Monty, you know what I mean? And then we got 14 hundos still. Let's go ahead and just strengthen healing. And I think that's it. We're going to, well, what's the next strengthen here? It lowers the casting cost and ATP loss. You know, let's go ahead. We're going to focus on water mainly. But you see what I mean. Fire, wind, water, earth. It's not what you want to call your stuff in a... Never mind. Never mind. You know what? We're fine. We do have to load our rifle. Okay, so we're set. We can get on with the game now. So, Aya's going to be carrying this Gunblade around the whole game. That's fun to me. There's a button you push to go into combat mode. She does that cool stance. Let's get this party started. So they want me to go to Acropolis Tower, where there are a lot of monsters running around. Yes, we're ready. Let's beat feet. We can't actually stash items yet, so we got to carry all these useless junk with us until we get through what is essentially the training sequence, like the tutorial level of the game. This game's version of Carnegie Hall from the first game, which was just kind of a short little dungeon. Except this game, it has the kind of action hybrid RPG style combat, but it's a little bit more actiony. It's more like Resident Evil than Parasite Eve was, which wasn't turn-based, but it wasn't all the way action either. And there's a lot of little foibles in this game that make combat very, very frustrating a lot of the time. It's very easy to take stupid hits because you literally can't see where the monsters are standing. I wasn't even going to try to talk over that explosion. Yeah, the game purposely uses camera angles to create this very claustrophobic feel, which means that you, the player, don't actually get to see what Aya is seeing a lot of the time. So combat in this game very frequently devolves into you shooting at monsters that are off-screen and hoping you hit. We're going to mitigate that a little bit by going through the game with primarily a melee weapon, but I mean, there's still... You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. This is the only scene in the game that I can remember that pans around like this, which is kind of fun. If only more scenes in the game use the little camera panning, but no, I think this is it. So we're cleared for entry. We can go on in. Sorry, buddy, I did not bring you a donut, but I do appreciate that cop mustache you have. So the other thing this game introduces is, you remember how Parasite Eve 1 had not very many, but had a couple of, like, adventure game style, like, light puzzle solving elements to it, where you had to find items and move them around in the game world to unlock new areas or whatever. This game increases that just a little bit, just enough to be, like, just enough that you can tell that this game is taking pages out of Resident Evil's playbook. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you go into the item menu, you can rotate your items around like you can in Resident Evil. So where Parasite Eve 1 was kind of Square's answer to the survival horror genre in general, was their kind of spin on it, their RPG style spin on it, Parasite Eve 2 was very much, oh, Resident Evil, that we can do that too. This is literally their Resident Evil clone. So I don't like it as much as the first game, but it is a pretty solid game, all told, if you can wrap your head around the control scheme and the other little frustrations of the era, the kinds of things that we've now moved beyond as a game-playing species. So we're not going to deal with many of those frustrations. We will probably have some cheap kills here or there. Well, there are some combat scenes where you get one-hit game overs that are very difficult to avoid. They're just kind of trial and error sort of things. Some of them are very far away from save points, which is no fun. But we'll do the best that we can. We will do the best that we can with Parasite Eve 2. We are going to Gunblade most of the game. The Gunblade makes a really awesome sound effect. And just like Final Fantasy VIII, you load it with shotgun shells, and if you pull the shotgun button, as soon as you connect with the actual blade, you deal, like, ridiculous damage. It's the difference between Like 100 damage and 5,000 damage. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So one thing that this game has over Parasite Eve is you got a map screen, which is beautiful. It fills in as you go, keeps tabs on where you're going, makes navigation a lot easier. They also removed the random encounter system. Monsters, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to heal real quick. There we go. I mean, monsters spawn in certain areas, obviously, because the game wouldn't be a game if there was no fighting. But once you clear all the monsters out of an area, they stay dead until you hit another plot trigger. Then they respawn. So you can literally clear the game. You can actually clear the whole game of monsters, and it's a good idea to do so you can stack up all that experience and all those bounty points so you can buy gear and ammo and whatever. That said, it is also very much a survival horror game, which means that resources, even on normal mode, can be scarce. You have to learn how to make do with what you find. And that takes some practice. All the phones in this game are made by the Asteroid Bell Company. I'm thankful for them because otherwise I wouldn't be able to save my game. But, yeah, you know how it is. We're going to go ahead and save the game, just in case I get killed by one of those one-hit kills later that I mentioned. There we go. Now let's get on with Acropolis Tower. We have actual gameplay coming up. The cool thing is, if you skip the cutscenes and whatnot, you Freeze. Oh, it's the SWAT guy, son of monster. Probably is that the only example of voice acting in the game? That guy saying freeze? That's kind of strange. Let's have a random nameless NPC who has nothing to do with the plot at all have the only voice acting syllable in the game. In fact, you can actually see the rifle, or the shotgun rather, mounted on the top of Aya's Gunblade, and she just walks around the whole game with it. I love it. Shoutouts to Treble for sponsoring this video, and to everyone who makes this channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.